So on Sunday 19th, 1986, Dele Giwa received a letter in his home, and little did he know that it was a parcel containing bomb that would end his life. The operation remains one of the most brutal assassinations in Nigeria. But who is Dele Giwa? He was an investigative journalist, editor, and the founder of Newswatch magazine. Born on 16th March 1947 to a family working in a palace of the then Oba Adesoji Aderemi I. While growing up, he attended local authority modern school and Oduduwa College. He then traveled to USA for his higher education, earning a BA in English form. Then in 1984, Dele Giwa founded Newswatch magazine with fellow journalists Ray Ekpu, Dan Agbasi, and Yakubu Mohammed, a magazine that gives core details about the dark side of the ruling government under the then head of state, IBB, popularly called Maradona. Dele Giwa was not an ordinary journalist. He was an investigative journalist, and his problem with the government started when he was accused of 4 different allegations. 3 of the allegations were about Dele Giwa speaking against the government in his published magazine, though he said 3 of the allegations were false and cooked up against him, allegedly. The only truth was the 4th allegation, which stated that Dele Giwa promised one Mr. Ogunbuade, who was a police officer, that he was going to employ him in his newspaper company, because the police force had earlier sacked the man just because he was a courageous and patriotic officer, and maybe the government didn't like this kind of people. He was sacked. So Dele Giwa offered to give him a job in his magazine company. All these allegations were the compilation of the unaware threat on him, because he himself didn't even know they were threatening to kill him. So 3 days before the assassination, Dele Giwa was invited by the State Security Service. He met the director of the SSS, which was Mr. A.K. Togun, who listed all the 4 allegations against him. And even though Mr. Togun told Dele that he should be at rest and not worry about all the allegations, Dele was still very worried as to why he was on 4 different allegations, in which one of it was truth and the other 3 were false, as he has claimed. And after the interview with the SSS, he went straight to see his then lawyer, who was Gani Fawehin, who asked Dele to write a report on the allegations, and he did immediately, because he was so worried that his name was about to be destroyed in the eyes of the society. Little did he know that his life was about to be ended 3 days after. Then 3 days after he had been questioned by the officials of the State Security Service, SSS, Mr. Togun, he got assassinated in a very cunning and mysterious way. On a Sunday morning on 19th of October 1986, exactly 3 days after he granted an interview with the State Security Service, Dele Giwa was at his house at number 25 Talabi Street, Ikeja, Lagos. He was having breakfast with a friend of his called Kayode Soyinka, who has come to visit him from the UK. A package was then delivered to Giwa's security guard, while the guard handed it over to Giwa's son, whose name was Billy. Billy took the letter from outside and went to give Dele Giwa at the table. On sighting the letter, Dele stretched his hand over the plate of food he was eating and across the table to receive it, when he realized that the letter was a little bit bigger in size and was inside the padded envelope, just slightly bigger than the A4 size, and had a sign that suggested that it was being sent from the cabinet office in Lagos. It was addressed to Chief Dele Giwa, though he was not a chief, and with the instruction printed on it that it must be opened by the addressee only, meaning it should be opened by Dele Giwa himself. He took a quick look at the parcel and handed it over to his friend across the table to see. Kayode Soyinka held it in his hand, looked at it and handed it back to Dele, because the inscription on the letter was that it was to be opened by Giwa himself. When Dele took it back from him, he said this must be from the president, as he thought the envelope contained some documents which may help his newspaper with some stories. So he readjusted his chair, rested his elbow on the table and tried to tear the envelope open from the top left hand corner. And as he slowly tears down the envelope midway, the envelope exploded. It was a huge and horrific explosion. There was a big ball of fire. Dele absorbed the shock, and the impact of the massive explosion torn his body apart, as he was the person that held the envelope and had tried to open it. And according to a report from the friend that was with him across the table, the explosion was powerful enough to lift him from his chair and threw him to the front of the door to the exit. He was saved by the huge mahogany L-shaped table on which they were eating. Dele Giwa was in deep shock, with his body torn apart, though he was still alive, as the helper rushed in and helped to carefully drag him out of the rumble of the explosion. He was rushed to First Foundation Hospital in Okwebi, Owen, by a close friend called Dr. Tosin Ajayi, where he finally died from complications of the explosion. Although Mohammed Bubamawa, who was the former military government of Lagos State, has been accused of being the sender of the bomb, and some even said it was the work of Maradona. But sadly, no one has been convicted or arrested for Giwa's murder 34 years after, and that was how Dele Giwa was assassinated in a very mysterious way. And to date, nobody ever reopened the case in an investigation to arrest the prosecutor.